Hare Krishna. Ik zat maar opeens over Srila Prabhupada. Mahyanati Mandasya Snam Snam Snakya Sakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namam Vishnu Padai Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Singhavadi Paskachai Dasatarini. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Good afternoon. I'm very happy to be with you today. Today I will discuss a verse from the Bhagavad Gita. Still more journey. Good. I will speak on the 10th chapter, text 11. That is the last verse of the Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita. So I will read this first this verse. Yes.
Right. Is het oké dat je iedereen vraagt of het oké is of je Engels spreekt? Omdat er mensen misschien bij zijn die geen Engels verstaan.
Begrijpt iedereen Engels?
Ja. Is het oké met Engels? Ja, maar er zijn een aantal mensen kunnen niet spreken.
Ja.
Hare Krishna, oké.
Oké, lijkt goed.
Oké, goed dan.
Oké, dan.
Meer in het Nederlands gaan doen, omdat dat, we zijn hier in een...
Ja, tuurlijk.
Gebied, hè.
Goed. En Bhagavad Gita, text 11, 10th chapter. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So, chapter 10, the opulence of the Absolute, text 11. Tesham evanukam partam am mahyanacham tamam. Nasacham atma bhavastu hyanati bhashvata. To show them special mercy, I dwelling in their hearts, destroy the shining lamp of knowledge, the darkness born of ignorance. I will read the last paragraph of Srila Prabhupada's purport of this verse. Due to the contamination of material association through many millions of births, one's heart is always covered with the dust of materialism, but when one engages in devotional service and consciously chants Hare Krishna, the dust quickly clears, and one is elevated to the platform of pure knowledge. The ultimate goal of Vishnu can be attained only by this chant and by devotional service, and not by mental speculation or argument. The devotee does not have to worry about the material necessities of life. He need not to be anxious, because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, who is pleased by the loving devotional service of the devotee. This is the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. By studying Bhagavad Gita, one can become a soul completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord and engage himself in pure devotional service. As the Lord takes charge, one becomes completely free from all kinds of materialistic endeavors. So Krishna says, to show them special mercy, then I destroy their ignorance. Lord Krishna spoke in the previous verse as Buddhi Yoga. Dadami Buddhi Yogantam. If we serve him with a little love, he said, then he gives us Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi Yoga is not just knowledge. It is realization of the knowledge. What is what are realizations of the knowledge that we hear in Bhagavad Gita? Can someone give me an example? What is realization of the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita? Any comments?
Prasanna Prabhu.
Yeah.
Now,
Hare Krishna, that you
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, that you
Hare.
are you start to change your identification. You start to identify with your soul instead of with your body.
Okay.
That's realization.
Identification with our real self.
Yes.
That, instead of with the body.
Yes.
And what are the symptoms of that? Someone can give us some symptoms?
Happiness.
That
Happiness.
happiness, yes. Happiness, one becomes happy if one acts as a spirit soul.
All the 9 gates of the body become enlightened.
All the 9 gates become enlightened. That this is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, yes. But in practice, what does this mean? That what happens in our heart? That, yeah. Vijay Sakepo, you want to speak? Yes.
Don't hear me?
Now we hear you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I would say that becomes more of a servant rather than the enjoyer, which we always have been.
Okay, that's
if one is serious with the...
That's a practical thing. That you become Krishna's servants and we stop feeling ourselves the enjoyer. Now, I can give another example that like 30 years ago, if someone would address me and say something what would hurt me, I would be disturbed sometimes for days, especially if it's someone who is close to you. After 30 years, I'm still disturbed. But mostly only for a few moments, and I let it go. So that is, one becomes detached. One has understood that this material world is temporary, and that we don't have to achieve anything in this world. But where do we get this realization from? We have in the 10th verse here, here in the Bhagavad Gita, there we have in the 9th verse, Machita Machata Prana, Bodhi Antas Praspankati Antasamam Nityam Nitya Tushanti Saramantasa. Devotees always speak about me. What happens when we speak about Krishna and converse about Krishna? Great happiness comes, but where does this happiness come from? Because Krishna is given Buddhi Yoga. He takes away all this false identification with the body and these anarthas. So that's the process, really. Hearing about Krishna. That by hearing about Krishna, we become attached to Krishna. And then, when we become attached to Krishna, then we can give our love, and Krishna purifies us. It's going two ways. But I want to speak today of the importance for all of us about hearing about Krishna. So now you see on the screen here, importance of hearing about Krishna. That you see on the screen a spiritual master instructing the disciple, speaking about Krishna. That's our process. Very simple. Speak always about Krishna. That I was just teaching the Bhaktivedanta course, and we were going to the pastimes of Krishna blessing the Brahmins' wives. And that's interesting, because the cowherd boys and Krishna were herding the cows during the day. And the cowherd boys became hungry, and they went to Krishna. Please, we are hungry, what to do? And Krishna says, you go to beg from these Brahmins. And they went to beg from these Brahmins. The Brahmins were busy with ritualistic sacrifices to go to heaven, and with all the details. And they didn't even look to the boys, although they said, we are sent by Balaram and by Krishna. They didn't look, they even didn't care. So they came back to Krishna. And they told him what happened, and Krishna says, yeah, if you beg, sometimes you are refused, that's normal, what can we do? But go to the Brahmins' wives. They went to the Brahmins' wives, and from the moment they heard the name of Krishna and Balaram, they became very enthusiastic. They start to cook so many preparations, and they brought it to Krishna and Balaram. And they were great devotees of Krishna. Their husbands not. How did they become devotees of Krishna? Does someone know how they became devotees of Krishna? Yes,
By serving Krishna?
Yes.
By serving.
By hearing about him, about his glories, about his heroic deeds.
Right. They heard about Krishna, and therefore they became attracted to Krishna. And from whom did they hear from Krishna? Who knows? From whom did they hear from Krishna? Or how did they know about Krishna? this Brahman's wife.
They heard from the marketplaces. They heard from different. Oh, I don't know exactly anymore.
Yeah, it's in the Bhagavatam. They heard from the Pulindas.
Pulindas.
Who are the Pulindas? The Pulindas were the aborigine, the original residents of Vrindavan.
Okay.
And they were forest dwellers, and they were collecting different things in the forest,
Yes.
flowers
Yes.
and herbs, and they were trading that. And they came to these Brahmins' wives, and every time they were speaking about Krishna, because these Brahmins' wives were pure devotees. So they were associating with pure devotees, hearing every day from them from Krishna, and they became so interested in Krishna. And they had never seen Krishna. When they brought the food for Krishna and Balaram, because they were requested, that was the first time they saw Krishna. They never saw Krishna before. They only heard about Krishna. Can someone give an example of someone else in Krishna's pastimes who never saw Krishna and became attracted to him by hearing? Another famous example.
I think Rukmini.
Rukmini, yes, Rukmini heard about Krishna and they became attracted. So just by hearing. So now, the next slide. You see the next slide? The primary qualification is the urge to hear about Krishna. You must want to hear. That's the first. That qualification is important. But to want to hear, that you must, there are certain qualifications which we will learn about. Srila Prabhupada writes, that's a verse from the 12th canto of the Bhagavatam. The person who desires pure devotional service to Lord Krishna should hear the narrations of Lord Uttamasloka glorious qualities, the constant chanting of which destroys everything inauspicious. So it first says in simple words, if you want to become a pure devotee, you must hear about Krishna. That's the beginning of devotional service. It's called Sambandha Jnana. Means Sambandha Jnana, re-establishing our relationship with Krishna. Can you have a relationship with someone you don't know? It's not possible. You must first know him. And that's by hearing. And hearing, you must get the right information. Therefore, you must hear from pure devotees, Srila Prabhupada said, because they know Krishna. So, why should we hear? What are the benefits? In this world, we want always to know what's the benefits. Krishna consciousness, my Guru might said, is the best investment. So, all dear investors, if you want to invest your life, this is the best one with the highest profit. So you will hear the benefits. So this is what are the benefits and for who get the benefit. This is a verse from the 10th canto. There it's Sukadev Goswami is telling Maharaj Parikshit, the Ganges emanating from the toe of Lord Vishnu purifies the three worlds, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems. Similarly, when one asks questions about the pastimes and characteristics of Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, three varieties of men are purified. The speaker, or the preacher, one who inquires, and the people who listen. So that was what the gopis always did. They could not stop speaking about Krishna. When Krishna was going to Mathura, that taken away from Vrindavan, via Krura, he went to Mathura. The gopis tried to stop him. But then he went to Mathura, and the gopis were coming together and saying, now he left us. He went to Mathura. Now he becomes, he gets the attention of all the city girls of Mathura, and Krishna has forgotten us. So why should we talk about him? He has gone. So let's stop talking about him. And another gopi said, yes, let's stop talking about him. How he was speaking so sweetly. And another gopi said, let's stop talking about him. How he embraced us so nicely. That, yes, another gopi said, let's stop talking about his very attractive beauty. Another gopi said, yes, let's forget his sweet dancing. And it went on like that. They never stopped speaking about Krishna. They just could not do it. Because that speaking and that hearing about Krishna brings our consciousness to transcendence. We become purified. So, how should we hear? Another point is not just hearing. How should we hear? That there are a few points here. This is the first one. Simply hearing submissively will free one's heart from all the folds of ignorance, and thus one will achieve deep love for Krishna. This is the path of peace. This from Chaitanya Charitamrita. So it says hearing submissively. It submissively means that at least you must be convinced, or Srila Prabhupada said, theoretically you should accept that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We must accept him, that submissively, that at least theoretically we must have the point in the beginning that Krishna could be God. Yes, that's accepted. And then one must be submissively means humble, humility, accepting Krishna's words. So hearing should not be done with a challenging mood. That will not help. The next point, so this is Dhruva Maharaj. He says, yes, he speaks about, I want always to associate with great devotees. So that's the next point. We must hear from devotees. And Dhruva Maharaj said, when I hear from these pure devotees, I become mad to hear about your transcendental qualities and pastimes, he prays to the Lord. So that's important. Hearing from the right source. And then the third thing is hearing with attention. If you want to love someone, you must first give attention. First giving attention and then you'll love. So attention to the hearing. That this is from the purport of the last verse of the 3rd chapter of the 1st canto. Srila Prabhupada speaks about hearing with rapt attention. Rapt attention. You must hear with rapt attention from the right person, he says. And then you will see Krishna in the pages of the Bhagavatam. So how should we hear? 3 points. Submissively, in association of devotees, and with rapt attention. And then it will be effective, the hearing. But what is the effect? And why is this hearing of Krishna effective? It's good to know that. So, first, one of the first effects is if we hear about Krishna from devotees, then we become automatically attached to Krishna. We become attached to Krishna. That's the first effect. So this is from a second chance. Srila Prabhupada writes, the ear is the most important organ for learning. We must hear from the superior authority. Although we are in the sleeping condition, our ear does not sleep, and it helps us to rise out of ignorance. So, if someone is in deep sleep, and just by shouting, the person wakes up. By hearing about Krishna, the soul wakes up, and one's spiritual vision is re-established. So the first prescription is Shravanam, hearing about Krishna. And then we wake up. But from whom should we hear? From whom should we hear? So this is from the 10th canto. Shravan is very important. One must hear from Vaishnava, Sadhu, Guru, and Shastra. From the sadhus, from the devotees, from Krishna's words. Bhagavad Gita is Krishna speaking, and the Bhagavatam is about Krishna. That's the Shastra. And from the Guru, who tells us about Krishna. And what is the result of hearing about Krishna? So, you maybe wonder what is the result if I hear about Krishna. This is the first result. You will stop the repetition of birth and death. And you enter a blissful life of transcendental existence, an eternal blissful life. Stop the repetition of birth and death. It's so powerful. And then you see this picture on the screen, this picture with Srila Prabhupada and all these devotees. Can you see on the picture one devotee who is not smiling? No, they are all smiling. It is said, this is from the 10th canto, those who have tasted the nectar of Krishna Katha, hearing about Krishna, they lose all material desires. Whereas those who understand Krishna or Krishna Kata regard the Krishna conscious life as brainwashing and mind control, while the devotees enjoy spiritual bliss. The non-devotees are surprised that the devotees have forgotten material hankerings. So many years ago, the Russian KGB said it's easy to see that they have joined the Krishna sect. You know how you can see? They are always smiling. So that was his point. You can easily recognize them. They are happy. And no one else in this world is happy. And they enjoy spiritual bliss. And the non-devotees are surprised that the devotees have forgotten all material hankerings. So, simply by chanting or repeating Krishna Katha, one is liberated from the contamination of Kali Yuga. What is this contamination of Kali Yuga? Can someone tell me what's the great contamination of Kali Yuga?
Disconnection from Krishna?
Yes, we are completely forgotten Krishna for sure. And that caused our contamination. But what is our contamination?
Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Matsarya,
Yeah.
Delusion,
Lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, envy, and a few more.
a few more, yes.
That's pride, desire for profit and distinction, I and mine. That's the contamination. Very, very thick.
And a constant infatuation with matter.
Yes. And it says here, just by hearing about Krishna, one can be liberated from material bondage. All this contamination is removed from the heart just by hearing that, and all our karma is destroyed. Here, it is said in the Bhagavatam, not only that, but they are no longer envious of one another. Nor they suffer from anxiety or fear. Just by hearing the Bhagavatam. And Srila Prabhupada gave somewhere a lecture in India. It was Bhagavatam class in the morning, and a businessman came into the temple and he sat at the back, hearing Prabhupada, and after 2 minutes he was sleeping. And after that the man said, I couldn't sleep for weeks out of anxiety, and now I sit down here in the temple and all anxiety was gone. That's interesting. Of course, there was this book distributor in America, and he was distributing books in the airport. And a man came to him and said he wanted to give him a book, the first canto of the Bhagavatam. And the man said, don't give me this book, because I can't even sleep. What to say, concentration or reading. And the devotee said, then this book is a solution for you. Every morning in our temple, we are reading from this book. From the moment that the speaker opens the book, half of the devotees are sleeping. Half of those who here are sleeping. So this book is a solution to your problems. Of course, the solution goes a little deeper. It's the medicine for removing all this intoxication from the heart. And we need to remove that to again identify with our real self. Therefore, in the beginning of the 10th canto, Maharaj Parikshit is asking Sukadev Goswami, because he heard about the dynasties, the summer dynasties, in the 9th canto, and Krishna was mentioned. He said, tell me more about Krishna. And what did Sukadev Goswami say in 10.1.4? He said, you want to hear more about Krishna? But did you take your medicine? Shruti Manobhiramat. Did you take your medicine of hearing about Krishna? Did you sufficiently hear about Krishna? So, no anxiety or fear. That is also in the 10th, in the 1st canto, chapter 7. This is a very beautiful verse.
Is it verse 7 that you will read?
No, 177, yes. I think it's 177.
This morning, my concentration went to that verse.
Okay. 177, yes. Yeah. Simply by giving oral reception to this Vedic literature, oral reception, injection to the ear. The feeling for loving devotion serves for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fearfulness. Vishnu Goswami, the old Gujarat Swami who left us more than 10 years ago, he said, you hear about Krishna and you get rid of LIF, lamentation, illusion, and fearfulness. And that's no anxiety anymore. Because we lose our material desires and our plan making, and we stop lamenting. It is another effect. Simply by one's hearing of these activities, the dirty things in our minds immediately vanish. One's attachment for hearing about material things, which is the root cause of material existence, vanishes. And one gradually develops devotional service to the Supreme Lord, attachment for him, and friendship with devotees who give us contribution of Krishna consciousness. So, that's the conclusion. Shimvatas Vakata Krishna Punya Shavna Kirtna Rityantatoya Bhatani Vidonot Sritsitam. So, when Krishna sees that we become attracted to him, he enters our heart and removes all unwanted things, So, I want to go back to these Brahmins the wives of the Brahmins who went to Krishna. The wives of the Brahmins, they went to see Krishna, offering him all the food. And what did Krishna say? He said to them, it's very good that you have come, that despite the protest of your husbands, so he approved that they came. But then he said, yes, that by this you have gained my mercy, my favor. But it's not by being in my physical proximity that you are, that you are gaining perfection. No. I want you to go back, to go back to your husbands, and assist them with their sacrifices. But the Brahman's wife said, how can we go back now that we have seen you? Let us just remain here at your servant. We cannot go back. Our husbands will not accept us anymore. They will reject us. And Krishna replied, no, you should go back. Don't worry. Your husband will accept you. That's all arranged for. But you should go back and continue hearing about me, speaking about me. And worship my deity. Hear from the scriptures from me and perform devotional service. He said, you go back and you perform your sadhana. And by that sadhana, by your chanting, by your worship, chanting my names, that you will develop love for me, and your love will increase. Because love in separation is better than meeting. So please go back. So that's a message for us. It is in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, best is if you always think of me, but if you cannot always think of me, then if you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me, because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. So it says, the regulations of Bhakti Yoga. You must follow these regulations. What are these regulations? Chanting, follow the principles, offering our food, hearing the scriptures, worshipping the deity, and performing devotional service, our sadhana. And what's the purpose of sadhana? Then we will become attracted to Krishna. And by that attraction, then we become purified by this hearing and chanting. When we become purified, then we develop love for Krishna. So that's, Krishna is saying the same thing to these Brahman's wives. Go back and perform your sadhana. That's better than being with me personally here. I'm in everyone's heart. You will, because when these Brahman's wives saw Krishna, they saw Krishna before them and in their hearts at the same time. They had the realization, they closed their eyes and they saw Krishna, they opened their eyes, they saw Krishna. They had realization Krishna was outside and inside at the same time. This is a higher realization. But we can also develop this, have this realization by following this sadhana, feeling Krishna always in your heart. And that is explained also in the Bhagavatam. And that's a beautiful verse. And I will stop then, but then we will have a discussion about this. But it's a verse from Bhakti Yoga, I think, in the third canto. Ja. Van Bhakti Yoga Parivavita Itsaroya, Asesu Tekskita Patona, Donata Pumsan, Yadyadhirata Urgaya Vibhaviyanti, Tatatva Pupane Asesa Tanugaya. Krishna says, your devotees can see you through the ears. By hearing, you can see Krishna. And by that, he says, is Brahma who prays. Brahma says, then your heart becomes cleansed. When your heart is clean, then Krishna takes seat there. Krishna is already in your heart, but he takes seat there in a certain form. The verse says, you are so merciful to your devotees that you manifest yourself in the particular eternal form of transcendence in which they always think of you. In the form you always think of Krishna, Krishna manifests himself in your heart and you see him always. Nobody can take him away from you. So that just by hearing, you get this special mercy. Because that is what Krishna said to the Brahman's wives. This is my special mercy. You follow this sadhana, and you can feel me everywhere. And you will develop more intense love than being in my physical proximity. Hare Krishna. So, any thoughts, questions?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I think you are a perfect example of that. When my remembering is good, you started to read the Krishna book. And that's what I remember. You told once in Ghent, you start to read the Krishna book. And more you became in love with Krishna. You are a perfect example, I think.
I'm a perfect example of a fool. Because I was a big fool at that time, because I got this Krishna book, that's right. I was thinking this is nice stories from India, some mythology. So I started reading it every evening, one of 2 pages. It took me 4 years to finish the book. But after 2 years reading it every evening, it starts to dawn on me. This Bhaktivedanta Swami is answering all my questions of life just by reading it. So yes, it is the mercy of Krishna book that I became a devotee. That, well, there may be other factors. That's sure. Thank you, President Alcohol. Of course, I'm still a fool, but at least I know that I'm a fool now. That's before I didn't know.
Maharaj, I also want to become a fool like you then. I want to become like you too then. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, actually, we hear through the ear, we see through the ear, and we drink through the ear. We drink the nectar of Krishna through the ear, right?
Yeah, the ear is very important.
And you know the story of Gokarna and Dundakara. They teach us a good lesson how we should hear.
Yeah. Can you tell us that story? Share it with us.
You can tell.
I don't remember.
In short, Gokarna was a very, very learned and pure Brahmana. I skipped the story because it's too long.
Yeah.
Dundakara was was his brother, but a great demon. And so sinful that he could not be forgiven in any way. And even although Gokarna had done his rituals at Gaia, Pinda offerings and everything, still he became a ghost. And the sadhus told this Gokarna that if you are reading Srimad Bhagavatam and your brother hears this Bhagavatam as a ghost, he will be delivered. And so everyone heard. So many sages came, so many devotees came to hear 7 days Bhagavatam. And this Dundakara also, although he was a ghost, he was so restless, he locked himself up in a bamboo stick with 7 knots. And after every day, 1 knot broke, cracked, like pop. And after 7 days, the bamboo split. And at that time, Dundakara, this great demon, became a perfect devotee and was carried to Vaikuntha in a Vaikuntha carriage by the Vishnu Dutas. And everybody in the audience was asking, but how is it possible? He was a great demon and he is going to Vaikuntha, and we are such good devotees. Sages are here, sadhus are here. But why cannot we also? Why didn't we go? And now you can answer the question, Maharaj. Why? You can take
Yes, that is, we are speaking about Krishna's special mercy, right? So if one hears with attention the Bhagavatam, one gets special mercy, rapt attention.
He was hearing with great anxiety. He was hearing.
Yeah.
Hearing was a matter of life or death. He was hearing in this manner. So much attention. And
Yeah.
after hearing, but they were maybe looking at their watch. Oh, maybe it's time now to stop to hear. I become a little restless now. Maybe there's something else to do. They were not really hearing the same way.
Yeah, he was in anxiety. I remember when that is 2001, I went with Prahladananda Maharaj to Serbia right after the war. I remember when we arrived in Belgrade, and we met the devotees undercover in an apartment. They were very afraid. You could see that. The impression of this war, these bombs and so on. But especially the years after, I went every year back for several months there with Prahladananda Maharaj. And Krishna, and they were so serious in their Krishna consciousness after the war. So serious. And many made spiritual advancement. But now we are so many years later, it's all gone. But when they were in anxiety, they were quite serious in their Krishna consciousness. And so by that we can understand the position of this demon who was here. That, well, from the moment you start hearing, from the moment you are hearing this Krishna philosophy, you cannot enjoy anymore as anyone else in this world. Your material life is finished. It's just
very dangerous to hear from Vaishnavas. Very dangerous.
yeah. Good, thank you. Anything else, please?
What are these?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Your lotus feet. I have 2 questions. I first start with one because you mentioned it with the devotees in former Yugoslavia.
Yeah.
It's written in the purport, the pure devotee does not have to worry about necessities of life. So there's for me, that's a divining line somewhere, a borderline, very thin walking, because I mustn't care about my life in this material existence. So when I'm go out, I doesn't care because Krishna will manage everything. It's a thin line. Sometimes I have difficulties with what must I do? How must I act? Even with this whole pandemic, you know, what must we do? Yes, no, yes, yes, no. Krishna will take care of it. No, no, no. Krishna will want. You see? Can you explain a little bit about this dividing line? This thin. Thank you.
That Krishna will take care of us. That's true. But we should not take that for granted. Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Maharaj, he said, one should think that everyone depends, one should act as everyone depends on oneself, and know at the same time that nothing depends on us. So that's, yes, you are in a certain situation, and Krishna provides food that we can say, oh, it's because of my work that I get the food. Well, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there you have the story of Mirigari the hunter. And Narada Muni, he wanders to the forest and he sees everywhere half-dead animals with arrows in their body. So he sees that, and then he comes across a hunter, a very hairy person, hair all over on his body with a long beard, that wild person with a bow. And Narada Muni tells me, he says, yes, are you killing all these animals, making them half dead? And the man said, yes, it's my livelihood, I'm a hunter. And now the Muni said, can I ask you a favor? And the hunter said, yes, do you want some deer skins or something? I can give you. No, Narada Muni said, I want to ask you another favor. Please kill these animals completely. But Michael the hunter said, but I enjoy it. I've learned it from my father like that. We always done like that. I enjoy it when they are moving. And then Narada Muni told him and gave him a vision about the karma, the karmic reactions that would come in the future. And by that, Michael the hunter, he came to the point, yes, that doesn't look good. And he said to Narada Muni, what can I do about it? Before I tell you, Narada said, break your bow. But the hunter said, how can I break my bow? It's my livelihood. How should I live? How will I maintain my family? In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that Mirigari thinks that he's maintaining himself by his work. And most people will not say. But he says, but in reality, no one is maintained by one's work. It's by Krishna. Krishna maintains everyone. But finally, Mirigari the hunter broke the bow broke his bow, and then Narada instructed him, said, now you go home, before your house, you put tulsi tree, tulsi plant, and you chant Hare Krishna with your family. And he did that. And soon the news spread in all the villages, a sinful hunter has become a sadhu. And everyone wanted to see the sadhu hunter. And if you visit someone, you bring something. So they brought so much food. Later on, sometime later, Narada Muni came back to see Merigara, the hunter who had become his disciple, together with another sage. And then when he saw Narada coming as spiritual master, he wanted to offer obeisances, but there were ants on the ground, and very carefully put them aside not to hurt them. And then he offered obeisances. And the other sadhu was amazed. He said, before he was killing animals, and now he's afraid of killing an ant. And then Michael Hunter said to his to Narada Muni, please don't send me so much food. I get 10 more times food than I need. I must give it away. So if we work, we get money, and then we can buy food. That's true. But it's all Krishna's arrangements. Without Krishna's sanction, that's not possible. Krishna maintains us. And that's always important to consider. Otherwise, we think ourselves the doer in this world. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you very much. Very nice story, Haribo, but I have now a second question. Excuse me.
Yeah, okay.
From who should we hear? Because we can understand from pure devotees, gurus, but in the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that one guru is one who strictly follows the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying. But you have once given a lecture about the 24 gurus.
Yeah.
About the sun, the earth, the snake, a moth, a honeybee. How can I then relate them to, how do they understand the Bhagavad Gita? But when I see a honeybee, I don't know if they understand something. And how can he be my guru? You know, is it always someone who speaks? Must it be a human, deva, or can I learn from everything? Thank you.
Yeah, we are not so intelligent as this liberated person who saw these 24 gurus, but I have a simple, from whom should we hear? So someone gave me this.
Mobile.
Here there is a little chip, little card, 32 gigabyte with all Srila Prabhupada's lectures. And in the morning I go to the bathroom, I put it on. Look what happened here.
Just tolerate. But you do not forget your real business, Krishna consciousness. Don't care for these material pains and pleasures. Of course.
So, that is a good start. You hear Prabhupada. The lectures are on the internet also, Vanipedia, all Srila Prabhupada's lectures. Hear Prabhupada. That is hearing from the right source. And hear from his followers. Reading his book is also hearing. And discussing the discussions about, that will affect our heart. Discussions, like the gopis, they discussed about Krishna. We can discuss Bhagavad Gita. It's also about Krishna. And by the discussions, Krishna helps us in our heart and start to help to purify us just by our discussions. It is mystical that also, it is said before, the speaker is also purified. If you speak, you must prepare. And by giving it away, Krishna is pleased and he gives you realizations. He gives you the realizations of what we are preaching. It's mystical. So these are, yes. So we should organize Krishna Kada events amongst us. Yesterday, I was with Dayanitai Prabhu, and we had nice discussions for 3 hours that with Prasad between. So it's like a festival hearing about Krishna. And we can all organize that, little groups, and we come together, the Bhagavatam. I know Purushottam Tirtha Prabhu also was doing that at his home, and so nice. And there's something we can do in Antwerp maybe. That organize more these things.
We'll start again, Maharaj.
The importance of Bhakti Vriksha groups. Yes. Thank you very much for the answer.
Yes. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
When we open the temple, we start again, and then we also do more than only on Sunday, because we all need to hear and to speak about Krishna.
Yeah, I'm also happy to participate. That I'm not so far.
Where are you now, Maharaj? Where are you at the moment?
For the moment, I'm in Brussels.
Brussels, so close.
So close. And in June, I'm planning to go to England. It's a bit complicated, but we will get there, for a few months and then come back. But I'm regularly here, so I'm a servant.
Let's hope everything turns normal again, and then we can come out to the temple, because it's not the same. Zoom is nice, but it's not the same.
No, it's not the same.
Together, to share prasad together, and it's different.
Sure. That's so. Any other questions? And because it's a little over time, but if someone has an urgent question or comment.
You're most welcome, devotees, to ask another question. Don't worry about time. We can have another 10 minutes or so, or whatever.
I can ask a question?
Yes, Vijay.
It says here in the purport which you read, to engage in the service and constantly chant Hare Krishna, right?
Yeah.
I'm always thinking, Krishna didn't say to Arjuna, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. He had to do his duty, his fighting. So I guess that goes for most of us. We are living here in the material world. We have to do the things that come to us naturally. And of course, offer the results to Krishna as much as possible, at least. And this is the way to become Krishna conscious. Is that, would you agree with that? Or you say, no, we have to chant Hare Krishna?
Yeah, we have to chant Hare Krishna. It's because Lord Chaitanya's instruction for this age is Krishna. But like you say, the gopis, they don't chant Hare Krishna. They don't have to chant their rounds in the morning, because they are spontaneously thinking always of Krishna. Chanting Hare Krishna or thinking of Krishna is the same. The purpose of the chanting is to think always of Krishna. But they do it spontaneously. But we have to chant. but not only to chant, also to hear. Because what does Lord Chaitanya say about the chanting? Trinatapi Srisana, Doravi Srisana, Amana Manadna Kirtanyasudari. You should chant in a humble state of mind, thinking one lower than a straw in the street, more tolerant, and devoid of all prestige, give all honor to others. In that state of mind, you can chant the holy name. But how do you come to that state of mind? By stopping our offenses. There are 10 offenses against the holy name. And they are all about not understanding who Krishna is, not understanding what the holy name is, that this offensive mentality prevents us to chant Hare Krishna nicely. How can we remove this offensive mentality? By hearing the Bhagavatam. By hearing the Bhagavatam, suddenly we become purified and we get the right mindset. So hearing and chanting must be combined. These are 2 tracks, Srila Prabhupada says, on a railway. The Bhagavad Vidhi and Pancharatika Vidhi. Pancharatika Vidhi is the practice, like the chanting, deity worship, and so on. And we must hear at the same time. That combination will purify our heart, and we will come to this Trinatapi Srisnana. So it must be combined in this age. But the idea is not just chanting rounds, always chanting. Always thinking of Krishna. Always. Not just some rounds. But if we become purified, then it becomes spontaneously. You think always of Krishna. You see Krishna everywhere, outside, inside, like these Brahma's wives, everywhere. And that's spontaneous, no effort anymore. That because you are on the soul level. But that takes a while before we are there. But even in the process, we relish transcendental bliss. So, does that help? Okay.
In regard, one thing in regard to, he was also saying that we should not work, we should not do our duty, so we only chant. That, of course, we must have developed the taste indeed to be able to chant and to hear. That's what you're explaining.
Yeah.
And of course, there's 24 hours in a day. So if our work is 8 hours and we even sleep 7 or 8 hours, 7 hours or whatever, then there's so many hours left to chant also, to practically do our sadhana, I mean to say.
Yeah.
And that will enable us to always, the other hours, we will even dream about Krishna. When we sleep, we will dream about chanting. We will chant in our sleep. We'll wake up we will wake up when we were actually chanting in our sleep. And also when we work, we'll see so many things around us, and they'll just remind us of Krishna.
Yeah.
We utilize our time properly. But 24 hours is a lot of time in a day. Krishna's given 24 hours. Very generous.
Yeah, but there is, in between, we have Shastra Sakshu. We can see to the scriptures, if we know the scriptures and practice that, but then later it becomes spontaneous. That's important. As Prahlad Maharaj always said to me, yes, you did by remembering always this knowledge, you can perfectly be Krishna conscious, even if you don't have yet realizations. So powerful is that Shastra section, the seeing to the scriptures. and it purifies, and then you become attracted to Krishna. Everything becomes pale in this life, material life, no interest anymore. And we start to value the association of it. And we become very careful not to become offensive and always be the servant. And then life becomes different. It's a process of change of heart. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. We'll see you and hear you another time again.
Yeah, we keep in contact.
Soon, yeah, and soon when we open the temple, then you can come physically to the temple. Last time you couldn't make it physically because we closed again.
Yeah. That's whatever situation Krishna gives. But of course, like you say, if we can be together, really physically, it is more inspiring.
Yes.
It's going deeper.
Surely.
And that's sure. Let's hope by the mercy of Krishna. Please all stay safe and may Krishna all protect you, and may we meet another time in the temple.
You also, Maharaj, you take care of your health also. Be careful wherever you go. Be careful because we want to see you for many years. To hear you many years.
Hare Krishna. Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada.
Okay, you have to stop the meeting, Maharaj, because
Yeah.
So the recording will be with me? It will stay with me?
Well, I don't know, but if I get a recording, I'll send you to btransfer.com. You will receive an email.
Okay.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Jai.